We have been talking all day about apprenticeship. I'm Karen Manuel, the National Operations Manager for the Apprenti program. And I think the best part of all of our jobs is making a huge difference in the lives of our apprentices. So today we brought a few of them here to share their story with you. We have on the right, we have Jana Radenska, who was a software developer apprentice at Avo, and she has now graduated and is a regular Avo employee in web development. And then we have Mike Cooper, who's an Amazon Cloud Support Associate apprentice. And we have Roscoe Bass, who is an apprentice at Microsoft in software development. So we're going to hear from them. I'm going to have each of you introduce yourself and give me a little bit of background on your work experience. You know, what brought you to Apprenti and what were you doing before you came to our program? Jana?
Hi, my name's Jana Radenska. I originally got an undergraduate degree in biology, and either because it wasn't that marketable or that we were in the middle of a recession, I never did actually get a job using my degree. Did some retail for a while, became a teacher. That turned out to be not the career for me. Was tutoring and teaching part-time when I saw a friend of mine had posted on Facebook about this Apprenti program. And I had been actually thinking about making a career move, becoming a developer. And I was considering doing a boot camp. But it was really a very daunting prospect to drop everything, incur a bunch of debt, go to a boot camp without really any idea of whether I would be able to get into that career. And so I had been hemming and hawing about it and not doing it because of that uncertainty. And then I found out about Apprenti, and I applied, and they took me for some reason, and here I am.
Hi, my name is Mike Cooper. I'm a veteran of the United States Coast Guard. I have a degree in linguistics, which is about as profitable as English. So after I got out of the Coast Guard, I was actually going to the medical field. So I was an EMT for 3 years, getting my hands-on hours and going to school full-time, incurring debt. So I can get into a physician assistant school. Got accepted, got in, got about halfway through and realized not for me. Had to change. But I wanted something similar career-wise that was as intellectually stimulating. So I was like, tech, sounds cool. How do I do it? Oh, 4-year degree. Cool, again. Like, I did, at that point, the amount of debt I had incurred just to try physician assistant school was not something I was willing to do again to try tech. So I was like, nope, gotta be a better way. And at around that same time, magically, is when that there was an article on the internet saying Amazon is going to be making apprenticeships. I was like, apprenticeship sounds cool. Get paid to do the job for the company. Learn it, and that's how you do it in the military. You learn on the job. It's very condensed, very fast-paced training, and then you just go do it. And that's what I like about it. So that's what drew me to it. I was lucky enough to get accepted into the pool and went on to be Amazon's first cohort, right, Tammy? We're the first, number one. And all the pain that came with that. And I'm actually very close to converting now. My conversion document has been submitted, and now we're just waiting on the final stamp. So it's been an amazing time for me.
Awesome. Congratulations on your...
Thank you.
So my name is Roscoe Bass. I am former Navy. I got out under honorable conditions, so I did not get out with the honorable discharge. Because of that, it left a scar on my life, on my career opportunity, so I had to kind of bounce around from hard jobs. I sold vacuum cleaners door to door. I've done canvassing, also door to door. I was a banker for a little bit, and most recently I was a boxing coach. I was actually a boxer for 7 years, and then I was a coach for 3. I was making under $5,000 a year, and then my girlfriend found Apprenti through a Facebook ad and sent me a link, and I took the test and scored high enough, apparently, to get into the program. and now I'm living a dream. Like, this is amazing.
That's great. So I think some of you shared a little bit about your prior education and training. And Apprenti provides you with a whole other level of training that you have to do before you go on the job. Can you talk a little bit about what training you received through Apprenti and what that experience was like for you? Yana?
So I went to a boot camp here in Seattle called Codefellows. It is, as Mike mentioned, very intensive training, immersive. My training was probably a little bit under 5 months total, learning web development. It's definitely not a good way to learn for everyone. It wasn't a problem for me because I've been in immersive learning environments before. I think it was great training. It was very valuable. It was not primarily the programming language I use at AVO, but the concepts that I learned there have been instrumental in my job at AVO.
So mine was a little bit different. We actually had 4 certifications we had to get just to get to on-the-job training, and then 3, and then we had 2 afterwards. Thank you, Jordan. That we had to get during on-the-job training. So right now I'm sitting at 5 certifications. So the first part of that was 14 weeks of Network Plus through CompTIA, and then 2 MySQL server courses, all done at the Learning Group, or TLG Learning out of Bellevue, so a private thing, all with my own cohort, all in the same classroom, day in, day out. So that was actually really good experience for us because it built the esprit de corps. Like, we became a very cohesive team, having to deal with each other's quirks day in, day out. But it was great because we brought that esprit de corps to Amazon, and then the training afterwards was mostly self-driven. So we were saying, essentially, Amazon was like, okay, you got those here on the job training now, but you still need 2 more. Do them study when you can, but get them done by this time. And that's pretty much all they said. So it's very self-driven afterwards for us.
Yeah, I had 2 months at Codefellows where I learned full stack development, web development, so HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And that's just what I took that as a way for me to understand how to learn coding. And then I took that over to TLG where they taught us C# and SQL, and then also Microsoft Tools. The learning, the whole experience, the first 2 months, fire hose learning, like nuts. But the last 3 months was a little slower and gave us time to take notes and really understand what we were learning. So from the learning, I realized that it's not about what we learned in school, it's more about how to learn. Because this job, you can't stop learning. And you have to be in the mindset that that's okay. And so that fire hose is like what I require now. Like, I want that kind of learning going forward.
Great. So then, after your training, you went on the job. Tell me a bit about what that was like, what that experience was like, what the mentorship was like, and how you felt once you got to the job, and when did you feel like you were a productive, contributing member to the team?
Well, some days I think I feel like I'm not even now. But speaking to other developers, that's apparently pretty common for years and years. But I think one of the greater compliments to both AVO and the Apprenti program is when I was converted 7 months after I came to AVO, one of my colleagues that I didn't work with every day, but we definitely knew each other, was surprised that I had not been a regular employee. Because at least at AVO, apprentices are brought in and they are treated essentially like a junior developer that's hired through other channels. We have a mentor, but we jump into the work of the company pretty much right away. And even though, of course, I wasn't productive on my own for a while, I feel like I started contributing right away.
So we started on-the-job training with another 2 months of in-house training for our particular role, which was cloud support associate. Still day in, day out with the same crew. And then afterwards, we got split up to put in different teams, depending on our specialty or our inclination to what we wanted to work with. And we were treated as a new hire. We weren't treated as interns or gophers or cheap labor. They were just like, hey, this is your job. Like, get good at your job. Treated no differently. The mentorship was great. We were given, we call it profiles, a profile mentor and a veteran mentor. So if we ever had problems outside the profile, we had someone to talk to and someone to guide us, and not necessarily our tech skill wise, but Amazon culture wise. So that was really helpful as well. But it's really just been, and as far as to productivity, I think about now is when I've just started to feel, I'm about 8 months in, and I've just started to now feel like I'm not a daily burden on anyone. Like, I don't need to reach out to anyone for help. Like, I can start to produce on my own, and my numbers reflect that, which helps with confidence. But yeah, it's been great.
So when I first got to Microsoft, we started in an in-classroom situation. The training that I got from the previous 5 months actually overset me for the training, so that the training that we received in this first month was review. So because of that, I tried to step up and say, hey, look, all of us who are Apprenti need to help the other. We're in the same room with the LEAP cohort, and we brought them up to speed because they didn't have what we had. We had previous knowledge in C# and tools, so we got them up to speed before the end of our time. When I got to my team, that was a shock in a different way. Like, when I got to my team, I already had a proficiency on C# and on most of the tools that we use, more so than some of my teammates did that have already been there for a while. So I switched. I took the role of a coach and got a chance to coach them on things that I knew about. And doing that, I learned more. I cemented these concepts. It didn't really get crazy for me until I saw my first project. Then I was like, oh no, I can't even understand what are these words? But I took it day by day, and I hit up Udemy really hard and tried to get some of those CS fundamentals that I was lacking from not having a CS degree. And I looked back at the paper and read my program or my project and realized how easy it really was. It was just learning and then applying the knowledge that I learned. Since then, I've moved on. I'm now on my third project, and I feel like I'm now a functioning part of my team. There's only 4 people on my team. I'm definitely one of those legs holding the table up.
That's great. So what do you think the value of the apprenticeship model is? What does it bring to you that you wouldn't have been able, how did it help you, or what's the value of the model?
For the apprentice, personally, quite honestly, it changed my life. I don't think I would have attempted to enter this field without Apprenti, just because of the financial risk of pursuing other avenues. It has been amazing. I would definitely not be in this situation if it wasn't for Apprenti.
Yeah, I'm the same as Yana. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for apprenticeship. There's just no way I would take on that risk again. And that's the great thing for me about apprenticeship and most apprentices. Like, I only have something to gain. I have nothing to lose, which, not great if you're investing, but as far as attitude goes, like, I'm just hungry every day because I'm here to prove that I can't do it without the traditional degree. So I think it's just the lowering of the bar economically. Like, I don't need to go invest that time and money on a gamble, essentially, or on something that may not pay off. So, same thing.
Yeah, I'm going to third that. I would have never been able to be anything in software at all because I didn't make enough to get into a school that would help me. Even a boot camp was too expensive for what my budget was. So, I'm making 10 times as much as I was 2 years ago. Like, that's crazy. And now I have the funds to keep going, to keep learning. So that's cool.
So a lot of people in this room are thinking about that, Roscoe. Like, what is the economic impact of apprenticeship, and what financial impact does it make on people's lives, and what does it enable them to be able to sort of contribute to the community and the ecosystem? Do you have any thoughts about that? What that means for each of you? Financial impact, economic impact?
Yeah, as Roscoe already mentioned, it's huge. I mean, I'm pretty sure that apprenticeship, in terms of getting paid even during the apprenticeship, was a step up for almost everybody in the program, and that's even before you get hired full on. So it is huge. I mean, in an ideal world, we wouldn't have to worry about paying the bills and saving for retirement and having benefits, but that's just the reality of life. And for me, it has been an amazing financial boon, for sure. Before this, I was working part-time, essentially just barely scraping by. So, again, life-changing.
Yeah, I think economic impact for me is, it's I don't know how weird way to say it, but like an entrance back into middle class. Like I grew up middle class, and then you go through college and you go through your adult life, and you kind of watch the middle class dwindle as we have in America. And this feels like a booster shot, honestly, to, redistribute wealth in a way that has been harder to do up until this point, I feel like, personally. Like I am now able to get back into the comfort level that I was, it sounds weird, accustomed to, but I mean, it's just me allowing you back into a stable economic state without having to worry about ends meet, living paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah, my economic impact I've already kind of touched on. I'm making 10 times as much as I was two years ago. But beyond that, I also have benefits that I didn't have access to because of all the jobs I was working. Boxing coach doesn't have benefits. There's nothing. So if I get punched in the face, but I love boxing. Don't. But beyond that, I have definitely felt a difference in my lifestyle and the change. Like I'm living in Bellevue now. Whew. Yeah, that's all I got. Sorry.
All right, let's open it up to the audience for questions. Janice has a mic still, I hope, or she's going to get one, and Jordan has a mic.
So you talk about your thirst for knowledge now and your ability to really, or desire to learn more all the time. Do you see this as a ramp to maybe going back to school, or like you're at a good place now? Do you see where you'd want to go next, and would that require a college education, a bachelor's degree in business, or even going on into computer engineering?
Honestly, I'm not a big fan of traditional college. But through this program, I've learned about all the other educational programs that are at my fingertips. Like I've said, I've been on Udemy really, really hard. I've taken 9 classes since I started and finished 9 classes. I'm working on a 10th. I've also found out about Udacity with nano degrees, all these little micro programs I can do on my own time and develop myself to be a better software developer, not just for Microsoft, but in general. Like I'm going to continue learning. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I mean, there's no limit to what I can't learn now, or what I feel like I can learn, and being able to do this without a degree doesn't really give me an impetus to go back. I have the ability to financially later on if I want to, but I mean, I go to Python classes that are sponsored by Amazon, for free for employees. I go, once a week, so I'm learning coding on my own time. I don't really feel the need to go back to a traditional pathway to go do the thing I'm already doing. I mean, it feels administrative at this point instead of actually beneficial.
Pretty much what they said. Having said that, life changes. Every year I look back on my life and I'm like, wow, 5 years ago I would have laughed if you had told me that I would be here. So currently, no plans to pursue further, more traditional degrees, but things change.
So you're really all kind of adult learners, returning adults, et cetera. And I think a lot of funders are supporting work that starts in high school. So I wonder if this was available to you all back when you were in high school, would you have done this? Or do you think that this is a good thing because you've come through all the things, the trials and tribulations, et cetera, in order to get to it as an adult? Because I think a lot of people are wondering where best to invest. And so I'm curious to know your reactions.
I actually have thought about that a lot. Like if I could have started earlier, I know I would have been probably a better software developer this time if I would have stuck with it. I didn't have the discipline though when I was younger. I took my life and my experience in life to get the discipline I have to push forward. Like now I know this is where I want to be and I can go as far as my brain will take me. But if I were to cut out all the experiences that brought me to this point, I don't think I'd have the same drive.
Yeah, I echo what he said. I mean, I got my bachelor's degree right out of high school, and it was a blast. I mean, it was a great experience, but I didn't learn anything profitable. And so, I mean, it was a super fun time. But I feel like now, knowing what I know, I would urge someone who's 18 in high school, I would urge them either go into the military or go into an apprenticeship or go into some kind of something more profitable and do the fun stuff later. But so I would say, yeah, I would tell my kid to do it. I wouldn't have done it. That makes sense.
Yeah, I kind of missed the boat. I took computer programming classes in high school. I took them in college, and then I failed to major in computer science. But yeah, I don't know why that happened, but I also don't know that I would have succeeded in a program like Apprenti out of high school, just because there is a definite benefit to having lived in the adult world for a while before entering a program like that the previous panel touched on, the fact that we have like the skills of knowing how jobs work, having a hunger to really improve and do something. So yeah, I don't know about that. I'm not sure it would have been a successful story at that time.
I'd like to add one more thing, what you were saying about maturity. I would not have known the immensity of this opportunity at that age, and I don't think a lot of people would. But now that I am at my age, I see what an incredible chance I've been given, so it's a hard one to answer.
My question is about the onboarding process, or I guess it's not really onboarding, but when you first get to the companies themselves, and are there things that you would recommend companies do differently? What are they doing really well to sort of create an environment for you to be successful? But then what are some things that maybe they ought to work on?
So I can speak from my team that I was placed on. I got really lucky. Like we're the first cohort at Microsoft, and I know we're there to pave the road for the people that come behind us, so they have a smoother experience. My team that I got put on is fantastic. Like there's only 4 of us. There's 3 other FTEs and then me, and they have made me feel like I'm already an FTE. Like they go out of their way to try and help me, and they even rearrange their desks so that they can. I have a better access to all of them without having to even stand up. So, but on the other side, I do have friends who are in my cohort who have not had that experience, and that was it's just a learning curve. Like we're not expected to be perfect right off the bat, and Microsoft's not expected on that either. But there are some that were put into teams that ultimately didn't want them, and that mentality has been addressed. And from what I've heard, they're feeling better now, and they've been either reassigned to a new team that did want them, or the team mentality of what they were thinking about how the program works has changed. And so now they're more inclusive.
Mine's the same way. The team I was put on was fantastic. Every single individual who I've met and who I'm interacting with is fully invested in me becoming FTE, and me, not only that, but just me being competent at the job. You know, because when you're a productive team member, the whole team succeeds. So I've never encountered any problems with that. That's probably the thing they're doing best, is they're not treating you differently. They're treating you as a team member, as a collaborative, just team member. As far as things not going so well or things to be improved upon, it's hard for me to say. We're the very first ones. It's been a lot of pain, but it's growing pains. It's not administrative, it's not attitude, it's not cultural problems, people like keeping us out or pushing us away. It's been purely, we're just learning. We messed up, we'll do it better next time. So I think that's been, it's hard to say. Just hammering out administrative process is probably the biggest.
It sounds like there's someone who's on the other side who's helping take care of issues as they.
Oh, there's whole teams,
Which is
and they're doing great. Like, you know, they're, for what they're given, they've been doing a fantastic job. Tammy's team and everyone under Tammy has been, you know, removing every possible barrier they can in a very efficient fashion.
Pretty much what they said. Just to reiterate, the importance of the culture at the place where you are apprenticing is everything. I had an official mentor assigned who was great, but I also felt like I could ask anybody for help, or, you know, random people would come up to me and be like, hey, you want to learn this? And that's been amazing. I think that's really the most important thing.
Do I need one of these? I guess so. You're all three super eloquent about being the beneficiary of a program like this, of an apprenticeship. And the prior panel made clear that the companies are substantial beneficiaries as well. So there's a high likelihood that at least those three employers, if not more, will continue to do more programs like this. Have either of the three of you gotten to the stage now in this experience where you're starting to think about how do you pay it forward? Like, what are you going to do for the next generation? Like, what's your role as a pioneer in this game?
Already started like getting in contact with the next cohort. Like, we've got cohort 2 at Microsoft now, and I reached out to them on LinkedIn before they got to Microsoft, and then once on their first day, I went and visited them in their classroom so I could shake their hand and meet them and let them tell me their story, and so they know there's someone who's already in the program that has their back. So like right now, like what I'm doing is I use our in the house chat service teams or Skype for Business, and I reach out to them and I see what's going on. And if there's some issue, I go and visit them personally, because I want them to see that it's not as bad as they think. Like they're coming in with the same mentality that I had, like, oh my God, everybody here is an expert, I don't know anything. But it's not the case. They're bringing something, and it's something that the team is going to need, and they just got to get the confidence to present that.
This is me paying it forward, coming out here, evangelizing. But really, I mean, I volunteer for every one of these things just so I can tell people how great this is. I mean, I've already said before, an immense opportunity, but you know, it's also not a well-known opportunity. It's in its nascent stages. It's like no one knows what it is. I tell people on the street, I'm like, hey, you heard about apprenticeships? And I'm like, here's my number. Go take the assessment for Apprenti. Call me when you do. Well, like, I'll put you in contact. And I think people are just very hesitant. They're like, that can't be. It's like too good to be true, or it's not real, or what's the catch? But then on the Amazon side, talking hard numbers, it's going to sound kind of blunt, but you know, the average lifespan of a support engineer in my organization is 18 months, and I have every intention of giving double that as a thank you. Just like until I am not needed in that position, I will go. Then I'll move on. But you know, there's got to be. I guess I now have a sense of loyalty that maybe other new hires would not have, because they were like. I mean, a lot of people, new hires that I work with who are from the other companies, are like, yeah, I'll hang out here for 6 months, get my bonus, peace out. And I have a much different perspective on that. I'm like, okay, well, I'll pay it back.
Yeah, much like the other two have said, I started actually when I was at Code Fellows. Before I went to AVO, I was just so excited about Apprenti and the opportunity I was getting, even not knowing what was to come, that really talked Apprenti up, and actually the screens with the various apprentices that were playing over lunch. I'd look over and be like, oh yeah, that's so-and-so. I talked to them about Apprenti at Code Fellows. And yeah, I don't quite stop people in the middle of the street and talk to them, but
That's an exaggeration.
but I do try to talk it up quite a bit. And we have a new apprentice that just started this week on my team, and I will definitely be trying to pay it forward with her. I think partially that's because of my gratitude towards Apprenti, and also my gratitude towards AVO and the culture at AVO, that had I come to AVO any other way, I think I would be doing the same thing.
It's been great to hear your stories. You've talked a lot about some of the technical training that you've gotten. Is there kind of a different type of training that you wish you would have, maybe more soft skills or, kind of career transition type training? I'm just wondering, is there a supplemental training that would have been useful as you went through this program?
I think part of the appeal of apprentices is that you don't need to teach that, is that we're bringing the soft skills, we're bringing the life experience, we're bringing other jobs. You only got to teach tech skills because we've got the communication, we have the drive, we have the teamwork, we have that covered. One thing, maybe not for me, but one thing I've noticed with my teammates who are coming from different backgrounds is financial literacy is something we may consider putting into apprenticeships. Here's all your money, don't go spend it on cars. It's like when people in the military, here's your sign-on bonus. Oh, you like that Mustang? Yeah. So I think teaching them something like that would be beneficial.
My experience was slightly different. We didn't have the soft skills coming in for some of the people in my cohort. They learned their soft skills through working with those of us who do have soft skills. So there's some that do come from a technical background, and I hate this term, but basement dweller is the only way I can describe it. That they don't they don't want to talk to anybody else. They feel like they're the rock star and they can do it and they don't need any help. And that's just not the case. And so I was thankful for having the training with everybody together, so we can try to get rid of that barrier and create more of a team environment. So it's like going throughout our jobs, we're going to be put in teams. We need to know how to work as a team. I'm coming from a sports background, so I understand that side of it. I tried to add that and influence my cohort that way.
I don't know that, I think soft skills, if necessary, should really also be part of on-the-job training in terms of apprenticeship. I know that it's very much, like essentially the company emulates the kinds of behaviors they expect. And I think that's, if you are lacking the soft skills, that's where you get them from. But again, I feel like I have a decent set of soft skills, so maybe that perspective isn't valid for others, but.
I'm curious, for so many of us, enduring success has depended on the networks that we have. So for each of you, have you found that your networks you're finding that it's mostly within, for example, for Roscoe and for Mike, you guys actually had intact cohorts for your sponsoring employer. But is it within those cohorts or within the Apprenti broader group that you were part of in that phase? Is it with people at your current employing institution, or is it people even broader scope than that? I'm kind of curious as to where you're finding that organically developing and deepening.
I'll start. So at Amazon, we have these things called affinity groups, and I'm part of the Veterans Affinity Group. So I meet up with them once a month, and those are people from all over the entire organization who are maybe not in AWS. And so we see a lot of networking there. There's a lot of networking opportunities, even within my organization on different teams that I may not necessarily work with on a day-to-day. So, and then Apprenti-wide, I mean, we have, not Apprenti-wide, apprenticeship-wide for Amazon. The team has been really good about making sure that anytime all the apprentices are in the same area, that they meet up and they talk and they share experiences. And so we network entirely, like I have, contacts in North Virginia now who are working with like solutions architects. So even though I don't work with them on a day-to-day, I now have that person that I can contact if I need to. So there's a lot of inherent networking, at least in my experience.
For networking, I am super social, so I like talking to people, and I try to bring people together so I'm gonna brag about Microsoft for a little bit. They have this awesome restaurant on campus called Ingredients, and it's a John Howie spot, and through that I've met this guy, and it's amazing, but I've been able to, through that experience, I've been able to bring my cohort and the cohort after mine and the LEAP cohort into this, and we can all talk and eat good food and carry on and network and find out about what everyone is doing. And then beyond that, I am the kind of person that will just ask the waiter, hey, where do you come from? Or I go out in the lunchroom and talk to just some random person sitting down. Hey, my name's Roscoe, what's your name? What do you do? So networking, I got networking in the bag.
Okay. Thank you to our apprentices.